House. This is a really special show for me. I am so excited to have one of my personal heroes here today. An amazing man. I don't know if you know who he is, but you soon will. His name is John Paul Rice, and he is a true hero. And I want him to introduce himself because I could never do it justice. Thank you for coming. I'm so happy to see you finally here.
Hey Mel, it's great to
Hi.
be here with you today.
So, how's it going? Why don't you tell my audience who you are and where you are and what how we came together in the same kind of mentality and mission?
Yeah, so I'm an independent film producer. I've been in Hollywood for 20 years, 19 years in LA. I started as an actor, I guess you could say it's like a featured extra in Remember the Titans. I was a football player. I was in the core Titan football team. You know, you'd see me throughout all of the movie. My name is in the credits at the end. It's called Stillwell Titans. You know, it was a 2 month experience. It was my first feature. I worked 14, 16, 18 hour, sometime 18 hour once in a while, for 2 months, and it was the best experience in my life. It got me jump started into film, and I spent the next year working on local, low budget and national commercial and a couple things here and there and crew, and then the Titan premiere came, and it was out in the Rose Bowl, and I flew out to LA. I had tickets, got them at Bruckheimer's place, and anyway, I had a date that night, and it was a fun 4 day trip that changed my life. And then I said, you know what? 3 months later, I was headed out to LA to become an actor and a star and all that. And I found my way through independent film. I started in the company that became Mandate Pictures. I mentioned this in my viral video that I did, or that went viral. And I don't know, I followed a path away from the industry, not really knowing all of the danger that I now knew that I was weighing through.
Mhm.
But I saw the signs along the way enough, and I met enough people and connecting points, and went to parties and celebrities I had talked to and met, some Christian, others, not knowing anything really, just little bits and pieces and parties and people I met and things that I saw and stories that I heard along the way. And then my own personal experiences mixed in with all of that. I got a pretty good sense around, after the election of Donald Trump, looking into human trafficking at a little bit deeper level than I had before. Um, and then my film career trajectory from 2007 on, away from the industry into independent film. But really, I didn't know that I was leaving the industry,
Mhm.
but the subject matter that I was getting into got me out of there. I did, my first film was 1 Hour Fantasy Girl, which was based on a true story of a young woman working in Hollywood at $150 an hour and out of a motel room, where she did fantasies for men, as long as there was no sex and nudity involved, no kissing on the mouth. And you go, wait a minute, who pays for that and why?
Right.
And then you start to learn about the clients that are coming in. And what is astonishing, well, there are very dark perversions out there, but there's like a common denominator of like them all trying to like experience some whatever crazy form of intimacy, and there's like a human quality to all of them, and even the sickest ones. This is what's so crazy about our lives, is because on television we see everything as this or that. It's very one dimensional, and they don't allow you to understand the psychological issues underlying these problems. There's always a problem that we've got to do something about, and we've got to vote on it, and we've got to raise money for it, and we've got to treat it, and we've got these epidemics everywhere, and they're growing and they're growing and they're growing. And wait a minute, wait, hold on. How many years have we been doing this? How many years is it like the goodness and compassion of people who have been pouring their hearts and their energies and efforts because why? They care about each other, they care about their children, they want the best for their children, they love their children. And then they come to learn in the last 4 years that there has been human trafficking of children going on a global scale at $150 billion a year. And we have the heads of our banking institutions and our governments and our media corporations and all the people in between globally participating in that industry and benefiting from it and paying lip service to all of us and saying, we vote for us, vote for us, vote for us. We'll give you your future for your children. And it's a ritual. It's a total satanic ritual that is being played on human beings because they're loving their mothers and fathers, no matter what the fathers and mothers have done to them. They have broken apart our families. They have decimated the African American community in this country. And then they have the gall to tell all of its people that you are contributing to a systematically racist system when it's Satan's forces that have gone into the African American communities, turned their parents into slaves after they had gained the equal rights that they had long struggled and sought after and believed that the change was possible. And they assassinated their leaders. They assassinated the people that were able to speak some truth to power before they were corrupted and co-opted.
Right.
And then what do they turn everybody into? A bunch of radicals who demand socialism and communism.
Satan's
And
game. Yep.
It's totally anti-human. It's a system of death. It's political theater. Everybody knows it's bullshit.
Yep.
And yet our emotions are tied into it because of Stockholm syndrome. We believe that mommy and daddy, who hurt us over and over and over and over and over and over, did the best that they could. They could. And it echoes throughout all of our minds, and we have complete cognitive dissonance, and we need to have the cry of our lives out. We need to let it all out. You have to, if you're going to heal. You cannot hold this hatred in your heart. You cannot hate your enemy.
No.
Your enemy is your unconscious ally in the future. The future refugee who has not yet awakened, but that you must get healthy for when they fall into your arms and need your love unconditionally.
Yep.
We have to go through this transformation, or we are going to die with the system of death. It is a system of death. They gave you COVID-19, and their mandate and policy in the process created more human carnage
Right.
at a level in drug addiction,
Yep.
drug overdoses, child abuse, domestic violence, suicides, depression, anxiety, starvation, homelessness, poverty, financial bankruptcies, and decimations of hundreds of thousands and millions of lives interdependent across all of the wealth that was created just by people who wanted to do the right thing.
Yep.
And these people turn around and they have the gall to tell you in the face of all of this that you are the problem.
Right.
But at the same time, and this is why The response cannot be what people are trying to pull everyone into, which is this anger and this hatred and this resentment. Because I will tell you this, they planned all of this psychologically on the population, both sides.
Right.
The side that you think is the side of your, okay, accept that at 100% face value, but understand and respect how they're defending all of it.
Right.
They have given illusion after illusion after illusion after illusion after illusion after illusion after illusion for 4.5, 5 years at an intense rate, all to keep everybody in the matrix of their true satanic world.
Right. Right.
And they had to call all of you a conspiracy theorist 3 years after Me Too, when they gave you cuties.
I know. I know it. I have many, many, many friends because I was in Hollywood 16 years. And I have a similar story to you with the beginning and everything. And I lost many friends to Hollywood's game. And when the Me Too came out, I kept saying to people, those people that, you know, are being put in the front of the Me Too movement, they're not the nameless, faceless, anonymous victims. There's hundreds of thousands of them that with the suicide and the overdose that you will never hear of. The ones, the worst victims of all are the ones that are nameless and faceless and anonymous. And you know, there's more, I saw more people destroyed in Hollywood than people can possibly imagine. And mainly because it got to a point where you knew that you had a cap unless you were willing to go to that next level. And luckily you and I somehow didn't, but this close, you know. And the people that, the suicides I have been around, and the drug overdoses, and then the tremendous guilt once one sells their soul in that system. The pressure is never ending. The guilt is horrendous. If you do so-called make it to any level, you have the burden of 24 people that depend on every move you make. And there's an investment in keeping people sick and trapped and working like crazy. My end in Hollywood was I was very close to somebody I was working with, totally A-list, like on the surface, everything looked great. And in my heart, I saw them destroying her. And I saw the manipulation from people that loved her, you know, people that cared about her. I saw them. It was just a constant watching somebody mentally decline and then give them the drugs to keep going, give them the incentive to keep going, throw money at them. But there was a cycle. I saw a human being being turned into something else, and no feeling I like there was no way out. And I did what I could, and I went and I said something to try to get some help. And it was me that was the problem. You know, it was, well, how dare you, you know, step up and say you're worried that this person, something's wrong and it's being done to her. And I'm watching it, and I'm watching them destroy this human, working her like a dog and just on top of her. And she was losing. And then the guy who I think it was like the main instigator at the top of the heap, a big corporate executive in Hollywood, decided that I had to go, you know, and I left. And a lot of people said, well, you had a confidentiality agreement or this and that. I said, I saw them killing a woman. You know, I saw them treating this brainwashing and drugging and push and so many people making money off of this one human. And I said something, and now all these years later, and that was around 2010, all these years later, I don't regret it at all. But I mean, my life was ruined. I had to like literally go. I got threatened that they were going to sue me for confidentiality and all this stuff. And I said, I just wanted to get help. And they said, that's not your job. And that was my last week in Hollywood. So,
wow.
You know, so I know what you're saying, you know, all that glitters is not what it seems.
No.
And then for me, because I want you to talk about your movie about human trafficking. I started to, you know, I knew about Epstein. My parents are in Palm Beach, so I knew a lot about it with the original case. But I started to, as I started to hear more and more, and then I started to see who went, that I was in personal relationships, both in business and in friendship, and in 2 cases, even romantic relationships with people who went to that island on certain weekends that I know were ritual-based weekends, is something that broke my heart. It was very hard to watch. And this woman I tried to, I believe I tried to save her, ended up falling into that mix. And whatever will be, will be. But, you know, at this point, like I say to everyone, when the Epstein boomerang comes, and I believe God will not let them get away with what they did there, you know, these people are going to say, like you're talking about, that they were abused. But that doesn't excuse you becoming an abuser, especially on that horrific level. And I think the awakening part for Hollywood, more, in my opinion, is that it's another deception. We've been told that the best people are these particular people. And you know, it's such a psyop. It's such an in your face when the veil is lifted and you see it for what it is. And you know, I know they're doing the Epstein case strategically and whatever, but you know, everyone that was there is complicit, in my opinion. And you know, I'm sorry that a lot of these Hollywood actors that were victims of egregious pedophilia and were trafficked around Hollywood ended up in that group. But you know what? Once you go and you make the choice to fall into that world,
they've seen what's happened to the other children that are
right?
younger than
That's what
them,
I'm saying.
and that's when you go, wait a minute, now you're going along with it and agreeing with the younger children being, and because now you've survived and they've got to pay the price and pay their due. No, sorry, no, you have children, no, sorry, bye.
Right. And that's really that's where we are in terms of that. Like I said to you before, I saw them all congratulating themselves on their Golden Globe nominations yesterday, and I thought it hasn't affected them at all. The whole world is being put through a gaslighting, I believe, a crime against humanity on every level, especially spiritually, emotionally, and intellectually.
Yes.
And they could not care less. They're already talking about what designers they're going to wear and what they're going to say on stage. And I just sit there and I shake my head. Some of these people, because you and I were there long enough that we know enough people that rose to the top, that you know, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. And
oh yes, they're conscious.
committed.
They're totally, like, guys, what Mel and I are talking about is not just what you see today. What they have planned to roll out later this year and into 2021 and 2023 is going to make this time look like nothing. They're going to reap on all the idols that they have created for your children. They're going to reap on all of it. They're going to pull at your children. If you think university is an indoctrination camp, you haven't seen jack shit, because these people are going to pull energetically at all of your children down a dark path, and it's all going to be with the glitz and the glamour and the materialism and the hypersexualized stuff for their transhumanist agenda. And don't think that they're going to stop at any time until they're all killed off or died or whatever, put away. These people do not stop until they are put down.
Nope.
By force, if necessary. So you have to turn that shit off, and you've got to get that crap away from you and your children. You know, I'm not talking about a total meltdown rejection where you have to have book burnings and all this other stuff. It's like everything about life has merit to it. The deception is your belief in their false reality. You can take the knowledge and rearrange it and put it back together again. It's not difficult.
Right.
It's just the illusions that are in between cause all the dissonance. So I'm being conceptual about it, but the true nature of this time is that there's going to be people who fall down with that because they are so damaged heavily or programmed or believing. And you know what? Here's the thing. This is the harder part. If you want to have compassion, is that God loves them all equally as much as he does you.
Right. Yeah.
And will help them every step of the way that they can be. And then it is your part in that to build the world away from this time, away from this reality, this false illusion of reality run by Satanist pedophiles.
Right.
Okay? I mean, we can do better than that. All of us together can do a hell of a lot better than that, even with our differences, just by walking away from these people and going, okay, what do we need to do? What can we do right here, right now, among all of us in our own little way to better our reality?
Right.
The way
that's my concern with the because we have the same feeling about COVID and the plan and all of that. That's my concern with these teachers unions that are fully infested with these types of people that want remote learning, because we know that remote learning is also created by the same people, by Bill Gates and Eric Schmidt and these same people that are involved in a lot of this stuff. And parents might not be paying enough attention to what is being fed to their children. And then we don't even know the next level of what the remote learning is doing. I tried to do a show about look at whose software they're using. What's the message? Are you paying attention? Because the problem is they're also all about data. They don't look at people as individual human beings that have value and are God's children. They really look at them as data and future brainwash, MK Ultra type stuff. And all of this stuff is also, I believe, embedded in some of this remote learning, this whole idea that kids are going to be in front of the computer, into it. But there's also all these weird things that because it's the transhumanism that they're putting in there. And it's a real war on our children, and people think that it's about a virus, and I don't think it's about a virus.
Let's just take it like, okay, so we talked about earlier how like here was all their policy for the last 10 months, and it created spikes in this and that, and so they created more death,
right,
in trying to save lives for a virus that has a 99% survival rate. Okay.
Right.
But psychologically, they shifted the consciousness into the next iteration of what they wanted, which is to get everybody in a weakened position, in a highly suggestive state, so that if relief had to come, it had to come in the form of what? More central control. Right? And then more oppressive policies that were already considered oppressive enough, but now we're going to even go, okay, so whatever is at play in all of this, I'm kind of like going all over the place, but I wanted, Mel, you can bring it back, but I kind of am just popping out for a second to look at it and go, all of what they're projecting is in everyone's mind, and our participation in our minds is what's giving it any kind of energy. And it's taking us away from what we can be focused on doing that actually matters. That doesn't require our worry, our fear, our anger, our frustration, because that's all that they're messaging to everyone at the same time. And it's just this space that we have here to talk is giving that reality a possibility to manifest. And if more people begin to do this and think this way and share this way with people, we begin to build community back. It's very fundamental in this time, because no matter what the outcome will be, no matter where this will go, that's going to be the most important thing we have going forward in whatever world is to come that we can affect and control, is community.
I've been saying that a lot lately. And also that, you have to consent. They need our consent, and they get our consent to their agenda by all of this other stuff. But if you step back and you say, I do not consent to this, this is not what what's right for me. And then the other thing I've been saying is, you know, you never really think in terms of they turned basically politics, even on the local level, into blood sport. You know, they put their money
Yeah.
in there. They made
Yeah.
it that to even want to do your civic duty on a local level, now you're going to come up against people that are financed by Soros or Bloomberg or one of these community organizations, and you'll have no chance. But if you do have a chance, they destroy you. And you know, it's things like that. I started saying, like, looking at, because New York City schools, they're doing a terrible job, and
Yeah.
the division is awful, and the Black Lives Matter agenda is running the schools, and kids are being really, they got rid of special class, like gifted classes and all of this. They want to bring everyone
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
to this
They're
bottom.
just going full blast with just cram in the indoctrination and
Right.
just get it through as quickly as possible. We need to
Yep.
make as many of these for whatever future drones we have
Right.
that are left. You know, we just got to move them through before people figure out what's going on.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's how I feel also about, you know, the gutting of this of New York City. There's a bigger purpose here. They're smart city, they're
Yes.
AI, they're
Yes. And
control.
and it's the division, that the separation, because see, they've already started the first psychological wave, which is get out of the cities. Only the people that can afford to stay and endure, and who are also the craziest, will, you know, I mean, they're the craziest and most powerful. They're whatever their trip is, they're entrenched in that reality,
Right.
and they're going to re-inhabit that with all the people who can afford and want to be a part of that high society, which is, you know, totally egoic, completely narcissistic, completely anti-God.
Well, that's
Not the good ones.
yeah.
Not the good ones.
But they're few
Uh,
and far. You know, that's the other thing. I walk by on my way to work, or I used to, I used to walk by the UN every day, and you know, I always get that ugly feeling inside because I know too much about their goals and everything, and you know, I always
yeah.
think about the Lucis Trust and the 10 rules to the New World Order, that they have the meditation room at the UN, and it's dedicated to Satan, anti-God, and all of that. And I feel it. I feel it when I walk by there. And
Yeah.
you know, it's really, it's to me, their hub, and it's Luciferian Satanists. They don't even deny it. The New World, they don't deny it at the UN, yet they're all over here. And honestly, I hope, I don't know what's going to come of that, but I just, this plan that they've done for New York City is should be a big warning to everyone, because it's been purposeful and it's been planned. And then, like I was saying, I went to look at who's on the school board. And if you go back and you kind of look underneath, and it's all gonna trace right back to the Open Society and to all these same
Mm.
people, or the Rockefeller Foundation, or one
Yeah.
of these things. And this is going on in all the cities. And sadly enough, it's also going on in towns all over the country. They've gotten local, and local is where we can make a difference by getting involved, even though, you know, they keep us in the debt slavery and the constant barrage and the TV and the full news, and then and you know, you don't think that way, but people have to start looking locally. You know, also, I got into farming a year ago out of nowhere, and it was a really good experience. But things like that, there's so much you can do local and to reach out, and people are dying for it. You know, the masking, the social distancing, the isolation. You know, for me, I also was saying a lot that they shut down the schools and the churches and everything, but with that, they shut down recovery. And people might not realize 25 million people go to AA or NA every single day. So they also closed that fellowship, which saved so many lives I know personally. So that was gone too. And then they decided to keep open the liquor stores as essential services. And you know, and De Blasio and Cuomo did nothing about the homelessness and squandered all the money. It's only gotten worse. And you know, people at this point, like we talked about, suicide in Manhattan's off the charts. But honestly, they're probably calling it COVID. I know the truth on the ground, but people aren't seeing that. So, you know, for what we're saying about the local part, so I try to go out there and speak my truth. And what I'm noticing only since the inauguration is that when I'm comfortable and I'm talking to somebody, of course, we have to sit outside in 15-degree weather and cold and flu season, but that's for our health. But finally,
But there are no more cases of flu, so it must be working.
a miracle. It's a miracle. So I'll be talking and I'll say, well, I think this, and just the other day, we're sitting across from a couple and they happen to work in tech. And I said my thoughts about something. Actually, I think it was about like the real purpose and the human trafficking and what I believed was going on behind the scenes on that front. And they were like, oh, thank God. And after like 5 minutes, these people felt like they found other people that aren't reading the New York Times and then saying what the New York Times says in this. And the conversation went on. And by the end of the conversation, they were like, thank you so much, because we've been isolated here and you're not allowed to think you're not allowed to speak. And if you do, you're scared. And after an hour conversation, I felt like I did my little part to help these people be like, because after they were like, thank God we're not alone. But I could see them couching. They didn't want to give their opinions. They didn't want to really speak. And then once I opened the door, then it was like a floodgate of, and this, and this, and this, and that. And it was like, yes, that's true. So now what are we going to do about it? And then they're like, when they left, they were like, give us your number. We got to keep in touch. We got to stay together.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah. And I'm getting a lot of that. I'm getting texts from people like, well, what are we going to do now? And I said, well, we're going to buck up. We're going to put up good energy. We're going to, smile again, the no masking. You can't smile. I used to do this thing where I would walk down the street and I would just try to, if I saw people, I would try to make eye contact and smile. You can change a whole day like that, but they took away our smiling at each other.
Oh, yes. No, this has an energetic effect on people
right.
that, because they're not seeing the bigger picture at hand. Not that everybody's got to get off their high horse. I just want to say this one thing. Everybody's got to get off their high horse and looking at everybody else as equally understanding your reality as you see it.
Right. Absolutely.
Every single person on this planet, 7.9 billion of us, are all living in our own unique understanding of reality as the Godhead is perceiving it.
Right.
And where we can find consensus is in things that are all true.
Right. I've been saying it too. The diversity myth, as I call it, the victimhood, all that. It's like, no, what makes us amazing as humanity is what we have in common. The love of God, the love of family, the love of children.
Right. And then in all of its crazy expressions on all spectrums, as you watch it and you go, holy cow. And then you see yourself in relation to the whole madness too, as it holds on to it.
And you're like, how do I get out of this? How do I get out of here? I want out.
Well, you do, or you embrace it and you go, well, I'm going to go with the flow of it, knowing all of it is an illusion in each one of us. And the ones that it's not so much about, oh, I know best. It's going, well, if what you're doing is knowing best, then just do it. And it will prove to be the best rather than you telling everybody it is the best.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's getting back that energetic.
Yes, it has to be. You have to come to this place like of humble serenity inside as best you can, because the forces that are going on around you, they definitely want to pull you away from that.
Right. And, you and I discussed also that these forces also are, using us as shields from their own crimes, from their own guilt, from their own fear of being exposed.
Projection.
So, so 100%. We're getting it. And it's like only people that go out and put out light and energy and positivity and keep people, thinking outside the box, because people are stuck. They are stuck and they are lost. And the taking away of our ability to communicate as human beings in person, and that exchange of real, true energy and light is we need to find it, and we need to
recapture it and start finding ways that in your small restricted space can still do.
Right. Exactly.
See, they build a prison around you, the prison of the mind, which is fear.
Right.
And everybody experiences and expresses their own unique individual reality of fear. That's why you see all the cognitive dissonance, because these traumas are deep down fundamental, and these Satanists know how to get into your head and live there rent free. So
Exactly.
if you give them space, you're giving them rent free space to live in your head with your anger, with your fear, with your distress, with your disgust, all of it.
Right.
But feel all of it, but also know that there's a part of you inside of that disgust that, if you truly care to heal yourself during this time, face it privately on your own.
Right.
Don't make other people pay the price. Consider what narcissists do. Consider what narcissism is. It is no self-reflection. It has no capacity for self-reflection in this lifetime or until maybe the end, but it's going to ride its righteousness all the way through its own spectrum of justification. Look at yourself as a refugee rather than a perpetrator.
Right.
Okay, then you don't have to have as much shame and guilt. Just know that you had a bunch of narcissist assholes rule your lives as you've existed in them, and they've only gotten worse and worse as time has unfolded, and you've seen more and more of their bullshit, and they've been exposed, and you're seeing it now for the first time through new eyes, that everything that they did before is exactly what they're doing now, and yet you're seeing it for the first time.
Right.
So that's all it is, and
Right.
that's all it should be.
Right.
The only other thing you need to watch on that level, unless you want to do deep dives on it for your own sake and your children's sake, and actually somebody's paying you to do it, cool. But like, you have to detach yourself from that matrix in all parts of your mind.
Right.
You really have to. You have to find space. You've got to create it through meditation.
Right.
I personally think the more honest you are with yourself in a compassionate, loving way, the more compassionate and loving and forgiving you will be as a person. And you'll have good cries through all of it. And then you'll have a lot of laughs through a lot of it, because you'll start seeing the absurdities of what you do
Right.
and all the madness that you unconsciously contribute to.
Right.
But it's not done in a place where you're like, well, I'm better as a person because I see things at a higher level of understanding. You know, it's like, no,
The opposite. Right.
no, it's the humbleness to go, there is a greater force, a greater power. There is something, look, I had to come from the dark of my own life, crawling out of my own filth and hell that I came from, not because I had parents. You know, I've talked about this on my show, some of the shows that have been on. I'm not going to go into a long explanation of this, but I came from heavily damaged parents. I was the fourth child. I was the last child. My mother was 38. My father was 40 when they had me. They were both full-blown alcoholics. My dad, one expression of it, my mother, another. Both my mother my mother and father both came from wealth, different types of families, self-made wealth, possibly in the higher society. Yes, they may have played in that. The family, I'm not talking about my mother and father.
Right.
But my dad was a great athlete. He went to Notre Dame. He graduated Notre Dame. He was in the Army. He was an intelligent man. He built a business with his bare hands and his ingenuity in his head and to figure out things. And he abused me as a child. And I have flashback. I mean, I've had flashbacks and some different memories and dreams and emotional like reality where I go back to that time when I'm like 2 or 3 or 4. But I've healed so much of that when my father last year was dying, before he was dying, I went to go see him for 5 days, and I absolutely had the best time I've ever had with him in my life. And I spent 5 days with him, and I loved him unconditionally, and I didn't have any guilt or shame with all that I knew, all the truth I knew of what he had done in all of my awkward ways. This is why I'm saying, it's like, look, folks, I'm not here to sell you on anything that I tell you to be true, but I know my own true experience with my experience in relaxing with God, within God. It transformed me in a way that I had no need to go to church to figure out.
Mhm.
I didn't have, and I'm not denouncing church and I'm not denouncing religion. I'm just saying that I surrendered my power to a higher calling of source, and it took me suffering like a lot of years, many lessons, repeated lessons of doing very foolish things, and I picked those people.
Right.
I picked them. I had to own that I played a major part in all of that, my unconscious behavior. Because if I knew what I was doing, it took me many lessons and many years of getting lonelier and lonelier and lonelier to finally fess up and say, I have to stop living my life this way. And this abuse that I have uncovered about my childhood, it ends with me.
Right.
And that's when I had no idea I would be here. No clue that I would be here. And still, I tell you, I'm a nut. Okay.
You're a
But
good
that's what
nut.
I'm saying, is that all I did was relax into more and more reality, more and more truth, more and more reflection, more and more in touch with nature, more and more touch with life. Like all signs that I could bring around me that showed me signs of life. If it was on my Instagram, I was going to follow, not necessarily just spiritual accounts, but things that showed me like the beauty of nature,
Right.
the beauty of this, the beauty of that. And there wasn't always like some preachy message necessarily. If that's what you like, great. But there was something, there was a purpose and a meaning of posting those kinds of pictures and then surrounding yourself with this. And this is the hologram.
Right.
It's self-reflecting hologram, because they have their projected reality on you, and that's the prison you live in.
Right.
And then there's the one you can create, even if you are in a prison.
Exactly.
Hell, create your own virtual reality.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
let me tell you, they want to move you from the reality they want you in right now to their virtual reality. So you might as well create your own. I'm saying, well, if you're going to go out with your own virtual reality.
I know, that's the truth. And we all have the power to do that. We all have the power to go inside, to
You
meditate,
don't know.
to
Yeah,
take
you
a
don't
look
know what
at
it
our
changes.
lives from a different angle than we ever have before, and really, pick apart, reconfigure. And we have that time right now, the time during COVID. I've encouraged people to use it to, did you have a passion project you gave up? Was there something you loved doing that you didn't have the time? Was it, did you give up on love because you were hurt once? Did you always want to get a puppy and you never did? Whatever it is, just fill your life with what is good and reclaim what you might have given up unconsciously just to survive in a society that was built to keep you enslaved and trapped.
Yeah.
And that's where I tell people to go that feel hopeless or lost or whatever. I say it's the powers within you. I was homeless not that long ago, scarily enough, and a lot of things happened to me that I would never think in a million years could possibly happen. And it was just one thing after another. And I have a brain injury, so I was on Obamacare, whatever the case may be.
God.
I ended up losing everything, literally everything. To like where I had like a bag and I'm walking around New York City. And you know what? You have to just keep going. And that's what I had to do. I had to go inside and look at me and really be honest. The hardest part was being honest with myself about what was mine and what I could change and what I couldn't change. And slowly but surely, things start to open up. And the more connected you are with God, the more God finds you. And it was like a series of it was like miracles of how I rebuilt my life, but they weren't miracles. I was really putting in the work inside internally, be it meditating or reading or, just sitting quietly or getting out in nature, which I think, like you said, is very important.
Right.
all these things that I had to do, but also I had to forgive myself and let go of what wasn't mine and start to really value who I was spending my time with. You know, get rid of people that I might have been drawn to for maybe also those years I didn't get out of Hollywood unscathed. So I tended to be drawn to very narcissistic, manipulative people. And when I started to realize like that these were my choices, like you said, I started to, it's just, you get a self-worth, a value. You don't want to spend your time with people that aren't, you know, on the same path and aren't lifting you up or give a positive to your life. And, you know, it's a long process of shedding a lot of stuff you no longer need, but you hold on to
Yeah.
stuff that you don't need subconsciously because I guess fear of letting it go or changing. And it's like right now is such a powerful time to take the time you have and this time that this shell that they've put us in and make it work for you. And
Yeah.
that's what I've been doing this entire time. You know, I want to give up a lot because I've been getting attacked left and right. I go on with certain people, usually people that I feel spiritually connected to, more than anything. But I also
Yeah.
like a lot of research and stuff. And I can't not keep going. You know, I don't want to give up. I don't want to stop going out
No,
there.
your energy. I mean, when I hear you on the phone, I'm like, okay, okay, okay.
But
I'm
you
like, Mel, geez, holy cow. I mean, where do I need to go? You know, like where do I need to be? And it's like I'm
know,
like drawn to attention. Like there's a front line forming. You know, we need you
I
now.
know, but it's just, you know, it's, but like you said, like we both said, you can go in there and you can do the work yourself, and you'll be amazed at
Yeah.
how people will be drawn to you. The right people will be drawn
Yes.
to you, and the people
Yes.
that need you, that you
Yeah.
need too, and that's how we'll have to build back into a way that is more about the goals that we all share in common of love and God and family and faith and you know prosperity and all these
Right.
things that
Right.
maybe we put off because they weren't ours or we didn't go to the right school or we didn't do this or we didn't. It's not true. It's all within you and it's all there to be tapped into if you make the conscious choice to do so. And before we go, because I need
Hmm.
everyone to see your movie because it
Yeah.
changed my perspective on a lot of things, and
Yeah.
really I think has saved millions of people and lives. And so for my audience, the movie that you know really attract the world to your message. Can you tell a little bit about it?
Yeah, so the movie is Child's Voice. It's a supernatural drama. It was a film that we made after Donald Trump's election in 2017, where I went on a journey learning about all of the history of the United States and got into conspiracy and just went point by point, fact by fact, and looking at different angles and different perspectives about all the things from 9/11, the Federal Reserve, and I came into human trafficking of children. And I saw the testimony that was given. It was a 5-part testimony from Ronald Bernard that turned the corner for me because I had heard testimonies from previous people, but Ronald Bernard, I watched his first and second and third parts right away when I found them, but he was the first one that was authentic. And he was talking about how he ascended up over several years as a young man, higher than the banks, up above where they do currency dumping and currency wars to start wars. You know, they know how to, it's a systematic, you know, approach to start wars.
Mm-hmm.
He was involved with that, the currencies where they make, you know, the fake currencies, and then they dump it through all the illegal channels, the drug channels, the prostitution, the gangs, all of that, okay, into the inner cities that they've all put the Satanists in to turn everybody away from God.
Right.
So it's like a fertile ground for them to do all that shit with. They do that here in America, so we've done that all over the world.
Right.
So he was a part of that operation, and then he got into the other areas where they go in and they destroy economies and entire businesses. And these people would have a laugh at it when they found out that the man went home who lost everything that day, went home and committed suicide and left behind a wife and 2 children, and they'd all laugh about it. Okay, so he got all the way up to the very top, at the very, very top, as what everybody else had said before. And he was the first one to say that they asked me to sacrifice a child and I couldn't do it. And he broke down and he went into hiding for nine or so years. And he and I later connected, but this is before all of that.
Right.
So we learned about that, and we learned about all the Franklin scandal and read books. And then we, like, from August to that, we make this movie. We don't know the whole story. I knew that Hollywood was probably involved. Unfortunately, I didn't know how involved fully yet until I started reflecting on it and seeing things.
Right.
But this journey of this film is about a road to redemption through love. And at its core message, what it's asking all of us is to hear the child's voice inside of each and every one of us and say, I will help you. Because if we do that for our children, we will do that for the entire world.
Right.
If we do that for our child, we will do that for everywhere in the world, and we will heal the world in ways that will seem miraculous, because the truth of that love will spread throughout all of the world. And the reason I know this is because I pursued this path not knowing and questioning it every step of the way, and not to make it about myself, because it had nothing to do with it, but whatever I was called to do and brought forward in this time to give me the courage to say these things in the face of, knowing that it's not about you don't underestimate what you are and what you're capable of doing from within this heart that you have, that God gave you as a child before all the troubles began. And you reconnect with that child in a beautiful way. And you love and cherish that child. You will love and cherish the world. You will love and cherish creation. You will not have enemies to fight. You will not have people to hate in opposition of your beliefs to strengthen yours, or vice versa. You will be able to live your life freely outside of the minds of others people's projections onto you.
Right.
Because you will live in your true divine self. You will walk in that divine light as you did when you were a child. And you will heal people. You will heal your families. You'll heal your relationships. Because every child of God is seeking love with that veil that has been put over them. And all you have to do is lift the veil to the truth, and it will set them free, and they will set themselves free, and they will be on that way. And you don't have to go preaching it to anyone. You just show them the good news, and you live the good news, and you will be giving them the good news.
Right. Exactly. Where can people find it? Can they still find it regularly?
Yeah. So it's still up on Vimeo, but it's not Vimeo.com. A lot of people have gone to Vimeo.com looking for it. It's not there. It's only the trailer. You have to go to Vimeo on demand.
Oh, okay.
And then look up A Child's Voice, or our website, No Restrictions ENT, No Restrictions Entertainment.com. And Child's Voice Vimeo on demand link is there, along with our other movies.
And what just quickly, what was the response from not just from the movie, but from your coming out and discussing it so openly, and what you found about child trafficking and all of this? What has been the response to the movie and to you since putting it out?
I've looked at everything. I don't go searching for it, but I've seen criticisms. I've seen, people have their opinions and whatnot, but I have not seen the kind of attacks yet. I expect it'll be, whatever. I don't care. I'm not worried about that. That's going to come. I have no control over that.
Have people reached out to you that were victims?
Oh, no. The response, I'm just going to tell you all, the response to that viral video in August and the film has ignited, like, worldwide a consciousness that is growing. And I would never in my life dreamed that this would ever happen. But we've had my viral video translated now into 7 known different languages, including it just recently hit Japan. Wow. Because Lynn Wood shared the video again, and it was it was inaccurately titled. It said I was the producer of the Hunger Games. I am not the producer of the Hunger Games. I worked for the producers of the Hunger
Right,
Games.
right.
And I said that in my video, but I didn't say that video to get it out to the rest of the world,
No, I
so
know.
that I was just trying to give like I was talking to 5 to 8 people, in that live stream that went over to 50 million people worldwide.
Hey, it's not up to you with this one. It's up to
No,
God.
no, that's what I'm saying. I give it all over to him because
Yeah.
I'm like going, well, I don't know what the hell is going to happen, but I shed a lot of tears, and of course, but I'm not like sitting here going out, okay, I'm going to step out there and be an idiot and a martyr. No, he wants me to live.
Yeah.
He wants me to fight for him because I know the truth.
Yeah.
And once you know the truth, this is the thing. Once you know the truth of what you are, you will not, there is no price that you'll be willing to pay to sell it.
Right.
Think about all those people in DC. Think about all those people in Hollywood. Do they have a price that they're willing to sell out? Yes, they do. And what do? They tell you what you are and what to think and what to believe. And that is the false satanic world because they don't live it.
Right. Right.
You are the real thing. They are the illusion.
Right.
You are the real thing.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, listen, that viral video and your movie, I think, opened up millions of eyes. It really put a light on it like nobody else could have. That was a gift from God to humanity.
Yeah.
And I can't understate it enough how much you've done to shed a light on something most people won't even look at, and you made it impossible not to look at. And thank you so much, because for me, you're such a hero and so brave, and I know that you don't think that way because you are truly a humble human. But I want to have you back because I also want to talk about your other project with the mental health side that I think is awesome too. But I'm so grateful that you came. I'm such a giant fan. You make me so happy every time I hear
Mel,
you.
I tell you, I mean,
such
I've watched you come through this time, and I'm like, I gotta find that girl. I gotta see what's going on with her.
I
She's
know.
just like going.
I
Oh, that's a
know.
producer right there.
I can't
I'm like
stop.
I'm like this guy over here. Like, I mean, I'm good at what I do, but I'm not like that. You got that showrunner in you. You're just like, go.
I know.
Chop.
Well, maybe on the other side, I'll get to actually do what I really set out to do in the beginning, in the right way, with the right people, with the right message.
That's right. We'll have a talk about that.
We will. Well, I'll see you again soon. I love you as much as I could love a human. You are such a gift to everyone that knows you and to everyone that's seen your video. And everyone needs to go take a look at that movie. It's really life-changing. And all the love in the world. Keep shining your light. And I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. You're the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.